Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this week's version of the Awesome Dynamics Show. We have a great subject today, and we want to jump right into it. So we're talking about Amazon. We're talking about Amazon reviews, and Tim's going to lead the way today. So I want to turn it right over to Tim and get things started.
Great. Thank you so much, Terry, for that introduction. Yeah, just like Terry said, we are talking today about, as it takes me a moment to bring this up, how to maintain, generate, and respond to Amazon reviews and feedback. We've had a lot of questions about this particular topic, so we thought it'd be a good thing to bring up in today's webinar. So without any further ado, let's get started. All right. The first question that we always get is what is the difference between a review and feedback? Many people don't know, don't know the differentiation between a product review and a seller feedback. So we want to take a moment here to kind of explain what each one does, and why it's important to keep a close eye on each of these. So the first thing is going to be feedback. Feedback is left specifically for the seller. So a seller, it gets a feedback score based on every transaction. If the customer decides to leave a feedback, they leave a feedback based on the transaction with you as a seller. You want to kind of think of a feedback as a sort of report card from the customers. And all the feedback basically falls into 4 different categories. For example, customer may give you feedback based on your shipping, based on how you pack the product, based on your customer service, and just a general overall buyer experience with purchasing a product from you. The reason why it's so important is that feedback actually affects your seller metrics, and therefore seller metrics affect your buy box. So especially if you're buying or if you're selling the same product as many other sellers, it is very important to maintain excellent feedback, as that will increase your chances of winning the buy box. And in instances where you're the only seller and you do not have any buy box yet, this may be one of the reasons why, is because of poor feedback. So not only does it qualify you for the buy box, but it also can increase your chances of winning the buy box. And we did talk a lot about the buy box in another webinar, which I encourage you to take a look at that, as lots of great information about all the different things that influence your ability to be able to win the buy box.
One quick point here, Tim, I wanted to bring up is that a lot of people underestimate how feedback really affects the buy box. You have a low percentage on your seller account that can really negatively affect how you get the buy box. If everybody else has close to 100% or just is higher in percent than you, that can really keep you from being able to sell on that item. A lot of people also don't understand, if you're the only one that sells that item and you're the seller of record for that single item, that can also hold you back in terms of how well your product ranks in Amazon's algorithm if your seller feedback isn't that good.
Excellent. That's some great feedback on that. All right, so the next item that we want to talk about is the star ratings for your feedback. So the feedback is basically broken up into 3 groups when it comes to star ratings. If you get between 5 and 4 stars, Amazon considers that positive, and that will continue to keep you at 100% overall feedback ratings. The next option is going to be 3 stars. 3 stars, Amazon considers as neutral, and that does go against your 100% feedback rating. And then there's 2 to 1 stars. Those are negative feedbacks, and those go against your 100% feedback rating in a big way. So that's just a breakdown in terms of how Amazon classifies the different types of ratings for feedback. And then one last thing, and we're going to go into this in a lot more detail, is that if a customer does leave you a neutral or negative feedback, you may be able to get that feedback removed because it's a violation of Amazon's policies, or several other reasons, which again, we will go into in great detail later on in this broadcast. All right.
So Tim, real quick, if I could jump in, I know I'm almost sure you're gonna talk about this at some point, but so any any feedback that talks specifically about product is really something that doesn't belong here.
Right. Exactly.
Right? And we're going to probably address, I mean, those can be taken out.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so I just want
well,
to further clarify that difference you talked about, because this is what I'm always hearing from people is,
Yep.
that question about, I'm getting, product reviews in my feedback and vice versa. And what do I do about that? And that kind of thing.
Exactly. So that's why I want to go through this and kind of explain the difference between a review and a feedback, so that we kind of establish that baseline before we go into, techniques to manage that and get those negative ones removed.
Gotcha.
So thank you for bringing that up.
I want to jump in real quick too. We do have several, we have viewers of our webinar, and I want to make sure that those folks know that you can ask us questions on the right-hand side of your screen. If you post those questions on there, we'll let you know that we've received them, and we'll get to them just as soon as we're able to. Thank you. Back to you, Tim.
Great. Thanks, Paul. All right. So next thing we want to talk about is reviews. So what exactly is a review? The review is specific to the product being sold. So that's very different from the feedback, where the feedback is about the seller. The review is about the product. So the reviews will show up on the product detail page for consumers to see. And the one thing is that reviews should never include any information about the seller performance or the shipping of any kind of products. The good thing is that reviews don't affect your personal seller metrics, and reviews are rated between 1 and 5 stars. So to break those down, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Amazon really doesn't classify them beyond that, but obviously we always strive to get 5 stars, no matter if it's a review or a feedback. A couple of review policies I want to make sure you knew about is that manufacturers and sellers cannot rate their own product, and manufacturers and sellers cannot review competing products. There's some other more in-depth ones, such as being able to review like your employer's products or reviewing family member products, which we're going to go into great detail again. But just know that it is possible to report reviews that violate these particular policies. And again, we're going to go into detail as to how to do that exactly. All right. Any questions before I move on? In fact, I see that we do have a question in the chat. It is from Michael. Looks like Michael Barney. He asks, can this webinar be reviewed at a later time? And yes, it can be. All of these webinars are recorded and available both on our YouTube channel as well as on our website at awesomedynamic.com. You can actually click on webinars to see all past webinars that are broadcasted. And we always do write up a blog post that explains all this information that we go over in written form as well.
And that also includes all the resource links and anything else, examples that we cover in that blog post. So you should be checking out our blog as well, Michael. Thank you for the question. Back to you, Tim.
All right, great. So let's move on to the next section. All right, so now we have a good established baseline of exactly what a review and what feedback are. We need to know what's the importance of maintaining positive feedback and reviews. So let's start with feedback again. Feedback, as we mentioned before, impacts your ability to be able to win and qualify for the buy box. So that's one of the most important reasons to maintain your positive feedback. Not only that, but if you are competing against other sellers, your seller rating, which is based on your feedback, may be something that a customer will use to choose whether or not to purchase a product from you or a competitor. Kind of just to expand on that a little bit more, negative feedback could cause customer hesitation. So if they were thinking that they wanted to buy from you, but see that you have poor feedback, then they may change their mind. And it also serves as a way for you to be able to improve your own business. And that's both by being able to identify a process or product flaw early before it becomes a bigger problem. And then, of course, if you get to the point where you have very low average feedback, Amazon could reduce or remove your selling privileges from Amazon. So that's a very, very big reason why you want to make sure you maintain great feedback, is so that you can continue to sell on their platform. We also highly recommend that you respond to all reviews that you receive, whether it's positive, negative, or what have you. The reason being is because it shows that you're an active and attentive seller, and that you take great pride in making sure the customers are happy, and it just shows that you're interactive. All right, I'm ready to move on to the next one, unless anyone has any questions about the importance of having great feedback. All right, doesn't look like anyone has a question, so then I will.
I actually have
sorry,
a couple comments. I just was using a different mute button than I'm used to.
Okay.
So, a lot of people underestimate, and I'm talking about underestimating things, the importance of your reputation online. We call it online reputation management. We talk about it a lot with folks that we help with Google and their reputation online when the people are shopping for their services, and they're checking out their reputation online. What do other people have to say about this thing? They also underestimate when it comes to products on Amazon as well. So when you're I know when I shop, I basically type in my term into Amazon. I sort by average customer review, and basically the items that come up to the top are the ones that I choose from in most instances, because I think to myself, if 1,000 other people are happy with this thing, then I must be too, and I don't really have time to look at this stuff. So that's one way I shop. Another way I shop is I'll actually scrutinize all the different items, and then I'll compare the reviews that are on there on the individual products. And if I see that some products are 3 stars or even 3.5, 4, 4.5, I won't favor those over products that have straight up 5 stars. So those reviews really influence my decision making. And statistically, the research that has been done on people's buying habits and reviews, people really use reviews quite seriously when they're shopping for products. So having them is important. Having good ones is important. And whenever you get that feedback from customers on those reviews, it's so important to take that and go back to your product listing, or go back to how you make your product and see if you can address any of those things. Don't look at negative reviews as a horrible thing that you can't do anything about. You can make sure another one doesn't happen again, and there's a lot of other things that you can do, but really take those reviews seriously. And then when you're going into a product, there's multiple sellers on that product, there's a whole bunch of the feedback. That's where the feedback comes in, and the percentage rating. And my personal habits are, I'm gonna choose the person that has the best price with the best feedback, because I know if there's a problem, they're going to take care of me and it won't be a struggle. Anyway, Tim, those are the comments I want to make on that online reputation piece. Back to you with the next slide in the presentation.
Okay, and before we move on to the next slide, I just wanted to really quickly bring up that we have another question. Sorry, give me just a second to open this guy up. And it looks like it's from Michael. Michael asked the question. So let me bring it up here, as my decides to go to different places than I wanted to. What about zero feedback? Does that affect feedback? And I'm guessing that this question is more related to what if a customer doesn't even leave you feedback? If they don't leave you feedback, then it doesn't have any effect on your metrics whatsoever. Customer has to choose, if they do leave feedback, between 1 and 5 stars for feedback. So there is no 0 rating when a customer does leave you any kind of feedback. Do you want anything to that, Paul?
Yeah, it also says on your where it shows your seller profile name, it'll also say that you're new to Amazon. So when you finally get that first feedback, that should go away.
Okay. Yep. Exactly. So yeah, if you are a brand new seller, and I think maybe that's exactly what you meant by this, Michael, is that if you're a new seller and you have no feedback yet, yeah, it does have a little bit of an impact because you don't have any track record yet. But that's why when you make some of those first few sales, it may be a good idea to reach out to customers who purchase your product and ask them if they wouldn't mind leaving any kind of feedback for you on their buying experience, especially those first few sales. I think that's a very important thing to do. All right, then we will move on to the next section, and by all means, keep these questions coming. It's very helpful to have this kind of information to help help others who also may have similar questions. All right, so next section is okay. So we talked about feedback. Now, how about reviews? How do we? Why is it important for us to maintain positive reviews? Quite simply, customers rely on these reviews to be able to make their purchase. Everyone looks at reviews for products. They look at those stars. They look at some even go down and actually read a lot of the reviews and why they rated something the way they did. So a lot of people put a lot of trust in Amazon and their reviews to be able to decide what they want to purchase. And just to kind of tag off of that, Amazon works hard to be a trusted source for reviews. And we had actually talked about a big change that Amazon made. It was about a month and a half ago, where they said that you cannot any longer do any kind of incentivized reviews, which means give products away for free in exchange for a review. That practice has been essentially banned by Amazon. And the reason being is because Amazon saw that there was still some influence when customers receive a product for free, even though they're supposed to be unbiased and they're supposed to just still review a product based on how they feel about it. There were studies that were done that showed that customers who do receive a free product still do tend to rate products higher than those who actually purchase products. So that's like I said, Amazon has decided that they didn't want that practice to be done anymore because a lot of people were scrutinizing Amazon for having fake reviews, and they wanted to still become a trusted source. As a seller, especially if you are the manufacturer of that particular product, you should be monitoring reviews on a regular basis so that you can make sure that if there's any kind of negative reviews or anything like that, you can head it up and take care of the problem before it becomes a major impact on customers purchasing your product. There are actually third-party services that can help you monitor this type of stuff, just like there's services that can help you with feedback. But it's very important that you keep an eye on this on a regular basis. It allows you to quickly discover any kind of issues that may arise with the product before too many people have this particular problem. And it also allows a seller to respond to those reviews, both positive and negative, to reviews, to thank that, someone for reviewing the product or to address concerns that they have. So what does a review directly impact? First and foremost, it has a direct impact on how well your product ranks for any kind of search terms. And it also directly affects your bestseller ranking, which is your overall ranking on Amazon's platform. And in ancillary to that, kind of talking about before about customers making decisions, a lot of customers decide which product they want to click on and purchase based on how many stars and what your what your star rating for the reviews is. So they may not even actually click and visit your page if you have too low of a review rating. Great. Next section, we want to talk about how to respond to all of this, but I don't know if we want to take a break now, if this would be an appropriate time.
I think it's a good time.
Yeah, take it away, Terry.
All right, great. Thank you so much. Terry, off to you.
All right. Let's take a peek at our website if we can.
Yeah, give me just a moment to bring it up.
All right. And then we want to just remind everybody and talk about some of the things that Awesome Dynamic can provide for you, things we can do for your company. And of course, we are Amazon seller consultants and have many different models and ways that we can help. We have clients with just incredible success on Amazon, and that could be you as well. So we want to have you come reach out to us about those kind of things. We are available at 800-238-1811. You can also get me directly at terry@awesomedynamic.com, TERRY. Basically what we're doing here is getting you targeted customers. That's what we do. We talk about how our clients are calling us every day and they could be calling you just as well, whether that's working on a responsive website for you, whether that's getting some search engine optimization going to drive targeted customers your way, or whether it's helping you with a Google virtual tour, which can be a great way to get some exposure to your company online, as well as to boost your SEO level and maybe take you a step above your competition. Those are things we can do to help. And we encourage you to reach out to us so we can talk to you about the different ways we can do that for you. So that is a quick rundown of what we do. We'll talk a little more at the end, but let's get you some new targeted customers. And Tim, I'll turn it right back to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Terry, for that little break there. So now that we've had a chance to kind of talk about why it's important to keep up with the positive reviews and feedback and what exactly these are, let's talk next about how do you actually respond to any kind of negative feedback that you receive. And we'll talk about negative reviews as well later on, but responding to negative feedback and reviews are very important things to do every day when you're running your seller accounts. And once again, I just want to remind everyone that you can always ask questions in the chat box there. If you come across anything that you want clarification on, by all means, leave us a question. All right. So what qualifies? So first thing is getting a feedback removed. What qualifies a feedback to be removed? First is if a feedback violates Amazon's policies, then it qualifies for removal. What exactly those policies are if that feedback contains any obscene or profane language, if the feedback is a product review, as we said before, a review is different than a feedback. So if someone puts a review in the feedback, that is inappropriate and therefore can be submitted for removal. And the next one is if a feedback includes any kind of personal information in the feedback. So the other way that the product can qualify for feedback removal in a way is if the product was fulfilled by Amazon, which, as we've talked time and time again, we highly recommend that every seller use the FBA program for many reasons, which we've gone into in previous webinars. But yes, this is another benefit of being part of the FBA program, is that if there's any problem with the fulfillment process, Amazon will take full responsibility for that. The big thing to know, though, is that if there is a request to remove feedback because it was fulfilled by Amazon, that feedback will actually not be fully and completely removed. What will happen is Amazon will strike through the rating. So if they rate it 1 to 5, the actual number will be stricken out. And then what they do after that is Amazon puts a message right next to that feedback saying that Amazon takes responsibility for the fulfillment process. The good thing is that while the feedback no longer affects your overall rating, the actual rating with the stricken through number and Amazon's response to it will still show up on your seller profile page. So if someone actually digs in and looks at your seller profile, they'll be able to see that negative review on there. Negative feedback on there, but they will still see that it's stricken out and it shows that Amazon took responsibility for that. So there's some good and bad sides to that. All right, so this is what it looks like. I wanted to show some pictures to show you. This is an example of a negative feedback that was submitted for removal to Amazon because it was fulfilled by Amazon. And now when someone goes to the seller's profile page, they will actually see where it shows 1 out of 5 stars, but that the actual review was it was crossed out, and Amazon says this item was fulfilled by Amazon and we take responsibility for this fulfillment experience. So this is exactly what those are going to show up like on the profile, on your seller profile page.
So powerful that people don't know that they can even do this. And you can only do it with the FBA program. So one strong point to be in FBA is the fact that you get this advantage. Yeah, I understand that a lot of people get frustrated. Well, UPS is the one who delivered the package all messed up or didn't deliver it on time. And that's true. But if you're selling with fulfillment by merchant and you're not using FBA, fulfillment by Amazon, now that review sticks on your seller profile and there's nothing that you can do about it. So now you can, of course, reach out to the person. We'll talk about some of those techniques as well, but this is so easy to do. If there's anything less than 4 stars, we're going to go ahead and just take it out if it's a fulfillment experience problem with FBA. Back to you, Tim.
All right, perfect. And I also brought up the other image that shows what it looks like on the Seller Central side of things, where it shows that the rating is crossed out, which signifies that it no longer affects your rating. And then again, the same message from Amazon. All right. So next thing we're going to talk about is what's the process of, okay, so I identified a feedback that is violating Amazon's policy. How do I go ahead and submit that product for removal, or that, I'm sorry, not the product, the feedback for removal? Well, the first thing is you want to open a case with Amazon. The way you do that is in Seller Central, you click on Help in the upper right-hand corner and click on Contact Us at the bottom. Amazon recently introduced some more help files that they want you to browse through before they get to this next step. So you just have to kind of click on My Issue is Something Else. Then we'll bring you to the section where you can actually select a category and select that you want to open a case. So once you get to the section where you can choose the reason why you're contacting Amazon, you want to select customers and orders. Then Amazon will give you a box to put in the order ID. So you want to copy that order ID from the feedback page and paste that into that box. Hit next. Then once that comes up, there will give you a bunch of different options of the reasons why you're opening a case about this order, and you want to select Customer Feedback Removal Request. At this point, Amazon will give you a dialog box that will ask you to explain why you are asking for this removal request to be done. And you just want to put in information just saying something simply like this product is a review, or this feedback is a review for the product, or saying, you know, profane language was used, any of the reasons we said before of why the product feedback may need to be removed for violating policy.
The seller feedback of a product.
Seller feedback.
Yes.
Thank you. As you can see, it's even easy for us sometimes to confuse the two, because they just, you know, a lot of people just mix the two up. So it's
and that's the point that I was going to make in a moment, but continue with the steps here.
Great. So then what usually happens after you submit a case, usually Amazon's algorithm will automatically detect certain keywords in the feedback and say like, yep, it is in violation of your policy, and your feedback will be instantly removed. I can't tell you how many customers we've wowed by taking literally 5 minutes to go into their account and remove a bunch of their negative feedbacks in, like I said, matter of minutes. And it's just by going through this simple process. It's something that just a lot of people are not aware of. And even if for some reason their automatic algorithm does not remove the feedback right away, oftentimes it goes to a team that looks through them, and they will usually turn around removal in very short order.
Why doesn't Amazon do this automatically, Tim? That's a keyword question for you, Tim.
Why doesn't Amazon do what automatically?
Why don't they just do that automatically?
Well, if you're not a very good seller, they want to make sure that there's someone cross-checking all this. So, you know, you can't just remove any feedback willy-nilly if it's not against their policies.
Exactly.
All right.
Now,
so
the one thing that I wanted to make clear, and you did cover a couple of slides ago, it makes sense with this FBA piece, and I know you already covered if it's a product review on your seller feedback. And it is amazing how many people leave a product review but on the seller feedback profile. And when it's good, we just leave it there because it just makes us better and gives our keeps our average seller profile percentage much higher. But if it's 4 stars or less, and it's like, oh yeah, this coffee cup, I hated it, whatever. If they say something like that and they give you a 1-star review, You just drop that off to Amazon. They go ahead and strike it out of there for you. So anything, you might think to yourself, oh, well, 4 stars isn't that bad. And you're right. But why strive for 4 when you could have 5? So you're not going to get 100% on your profile unless you strike and get rid of everything that's 4 stars or less.
Well, one thing I did want to bring up is that Amazon will generally only allow you to submit removal for any ratings that are 3 stars and below. So if it's 4 stars and above, Amazon considers that positive. And we've seen more recently that Amazon will not even remove that review because it's not a negative or neutral review. So we have a technique for dealing with those particular situations where you have a bunch of 4-star reviews and everything was positive in the actual feedback area. But we'll go into that a little bit more in a moment here.
Great, Tim. One other quick point I wanted to make is that this process that you see on the screen right now is how it is today on December 1st, 2016. It was different a year ago, and it'll probably be different a year from now. So don't take these steps necessarily as how you do it, but bottom line, you have to go and contact Amazon. There's going to be a place to go to submit the feedback removal request. It's a lot more organized now. Before you had to just submit a general case. Now they actually have a place to go in and do it.
Yeah, and as I said, they even changed things very recently after I had gotten all this prepared, where they now have a step in between A and B here, where you have to get through their labyrinth. I guess they're trying to reduce the number of inbound cases and messages and trying to get sellers to actually use their help files to answer their questions before they contact Amazon.
And there's actually one other way to handle these things as well. Have us manage your account and take care of it for you.
That's right.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We do that for a lot of our management clients where we, on a regular basis, we're always looking through the account, trying to identify any opportunities to improve their seller rating, which includes submitting these for removal on quite a regular basis.
Yeah, when you're doing a management project or management full service management program with us, as soon as we see these come in, we get them right out of there for you. We just take care of it. It's an automated thing on our end. Tim, let's see the next slide.
All right, perfect. So let's say, the review doesn't qualify for removal if, it's for some reason not violating any kind of policies. What's your next option? Well, really your next option is to contact the buyer. You want to, Amazon's all about customer service. You want to identify and attempt to resolve the issue that they're having and the reason why they're having a problem. So let's say they said, I received a product and it was broken. First thing you want to do whenever you have any customer that's not happy with the transaction or their product is we say just initiate a refund and or even give them an extra concession right away without question. We often take the stance that we feel that a customer should never pay for a product that you are not 100% happy with. And if you take that kind of stance, that goes a long way towards making sure that you turn a negative situation into a positive one. Once you do that, then you start going into the process of trying to resolve the issue. You want to try to troubleshoot or answer any questions they have. Provide even after doing a refund, provide them a replacement free of charge if your product is a kind of product that warrants. And then just in general, you want to be overly customer centric. You want to make sure that every decision that you make is customer focused. A lot of times we run into sellers who we like to say are too close to the money, where they are always concerned, well, it's going to cost me so much money to not only refund this, but also to ship out a free one, which then I'm not making any money on. Yes, while all of that is absolutely true, this negative, even just one negative feedback, even on a very new account, can have such a big impact in your overall sales volume that's not worth it to have a situation where this negative review has such a big impact. And I'm sure Paul wants to comment on that a little bit more.
Yeah, it's a cost of doing business, and you look at it as an opportunity to make them really happy, wow them. I mean, when Amazon actually provided phone numbers for each of the different orders that you got, and we got a negative feedback, I remember calling up the person They're like, who is this? I said, you bought a product from me on Amazon. You said that you didn't like it. I'm very sorry for that experience. You should never pay money for a product that you're not happy with. I already refunded all your money, and I want you to pick 1 or 2 other products that I have for sale. I'm going to send them to you absolutely free of charge because I want you to be happy. And she was just blown away, super happy. And after that, I said, I really. I'm really happy that you're happy now. We always strive for great customer service. Would you mind adjusting your review to reflect your experience with us? And that's key for that opportunity. It's turning that negative feedback or review back into something positive. And in that particular instance, she left a negative review on the product, which was valid, and there's nothing I could do to change it or submit anything to Amazon to have it removed. But because I wowed her with how I handled the situation, she changed it into a 5 for me as a result of how I handled the issue. So that's a really powerful thing that you need to think about when you get those negative feedbacks, negative reviews. You can even ask them to leave one on that lady in particular. She upped her rating on the particular product. I could then go back to her and say, would you mind also leaving a feedback on my seller account as well? And I bet you she would have. And that's one of those things where turn those experiences into something positive and handle it the right way. Tim, back to you.
I was just going to step in for one quick second. I agree wholeheartedly with everything Paul just said. As far as cost goes, these kind of things, that's a marketing cost. I mean, really plain and simple, and it's going to pay off, and you just have to look at it that way. So you can't really think about that, few dollars or whatever dollars, that short-term money. That's a marketing cost of doing business, and will pay off in the long run.
And just think about how aggravating it is when you are trying to return something to a store or online, and you're met with resistance and restocking fees and all this other stuff, and you're just like, I don't want to deal with this, and nobody likes to deal with. So why would you make your customers feel that same way?
And also think about. I'm sorry, and I say also think about how thrilled you are when you have a conversation or a interaction with somebody and they just say, oh, just keep it, don't send it back, I'll credit you. It's, you're so happy and so excited. I mean, that's the kind of people you want to do business with.
Mm-hmm. And here's the other thing. You don't have to give away the store every time. So you don't always have to give it away for free. Yeah. We also pulse them and see what they want. Or maybe in their interaction, they're like, I really wish I could get a partial credit on that. Great. That just got you out of half the money you would have given them. So just pulse them, try and figure out what would make them happy, and just do that. Their expectation may not be a full refund. It may be they just want a replacement. Maybe they want a partial refund. You don't know what's going to make them happy, but it's worth your time to ask to find out.
All right. Great. I knew you guys had a lot to add on to that one, so I'm really glad you guys took that opportunity. So as Paul was alluding to, if the outcome is satisfactory, you want to request the buyer change or remove the feedback to reflect this customer service that you have now provided. The big thing you have to know, though, is that customers can only change their own feedback or remove it within 60 days of leaving it. So it's important to jump on any of these negative feedbacks right away. Otherwise, it could get to the point where it will not be removable. Keep in mind that after enough time, it will become obsolete, or will become, a non-factor, but not for at least a year. So keep that in mind, that you want to jump on these right away. The last thing is, and this is a very, very big policy issue, is you cannot coerce or incentivize a buyer to change their feedback. So you can't say, I'll give you an example of something that you cannot do. You cannot tell a customer that left you negative feedback and say, okay, I'll only refund you this product if you change that to a 5-star feedback. That is not acceptable. Amazon will, if Amazon found out that you were doing that kind of thing, those are the kinds of gross violations that Amazon will outright remove your selling privileges for. So it's very important that you stay above board when communicating with customers, especially when it comes to feedback and reviews, as we'll talk about later.
I want to jump in there for a second. So in the example that I just gave, if you recall what I said we strive for great customer service. And as a result of that, would you mind leaving us a feedback? So I didn't connect the two. I just requested that they leave me a review. I didn't say, can you give me 5 stars? I can even say, we strive for 5 stars. Would you give me a feedback? The key here is not to violate the policy. So crafting your language in the right way is so important. Tim, I think we have a question here.
Yes, we do indeed. In fact, let me bring that up here. So it looks like this question, of course, I don't have it up right now, is from Jerry. Hello, Jerry. Thank you so much for being on today's webinar. He asked, I thought you were not allowed to request customers to change feedback. So as I said before, you certainly are able to. In fact, Amazon during the process will actually tell you, hey, if you're not getting the resolution that you want, they actually in their documentation say that you can reach out to a customer and ask them if they wouldn't mind changing their feedback. The biggest thing is that whole coercion piece. You just cannot say, we will only fix this problem if you give us, if you change your feedback. So I don't know if you want to add anything, Paul.
Yeah, it's just all about the customer focus. So a lot of the ways that Amazon's policies are written, it's all about serving the customer's need. So coercion is not serving the customer's need, but providing them a fantastic resolution to their issue, and then talking to them about how it would be great if they could adjust their feedback or review is fine. It's absolutely fine.
Great. Thank you so much, Jerry, for the question. All right. Well, I think we covered that pretty well. Now that we have covered everything having to do with, actually, we have one more section to go, which is, okay, let's say the customer has, let's say it doesn't violate any kind of policy. So you cannot get the product, feedback removed. Caught myself that time. Then let's say the customer is just not willing to budge on any of their review, or feedback, because you, even though you told them you did everything you possibly could, then the last option that you really have at your disposal is to respond publicly to the feedback. The whole idea behind this is that we want to lessen the human impact of any kind of negative feedback. So if a customer actually goes to the to your profile page and sees a negative feedback, they'll see that feedback, but then they'll also see a response from the seller that may change their mind as to whether or not this 1-star or 2-star feedback was really warranted. So the whole idea, like we were talking about before, is that we want to turn this negative situation into a positive experience. And the way we do that is by more or less sharing your side of the story. A lot of times these things are very one-sided, and this gives you as a seller an opportunity to explain what's happening. So let's say you tried reaching out to a consumer and they just are not responding at all to your requests about their feedback. You can always just explain that you have done everything you can to try and reach out to them. And you can even and we encourage this, to put your customer service phone number right there within your response and encourage the customer to reach out to you. Any kind of person seeing that is going to be like, why hasn't this person reached out to the seller? They're going to start to question, the rationality of this buyer, and start to think, man, they just are not doing the right thing. That they just are not responding at all.
Right. And it boils down to my saying that I love to say, Tim, it's better to make them look crazy than to let them make you look bad. And that's essentially what you're doing, is you're framing your response to not be combative, but you're framing it in a way that makes them look like they're crazy for not working with you, or that they're crazy with what their issue is. And that takes some skill to be able to do that, because you don't want them to argue with you. But if everybody else looks at what they said and your response, and your response is sane and level-headed and offers all sorts of options to them, and they're flying off the handle and look like they're nuts, people are going to find them as not credible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And in fact, that kind of covers the second section where, if a customer is just unhappy with it, just explain everything you tried to do. I issued a full refund. I sent you a replacement, or offered to send you a replacement at no charge. I never heard from you. And again, you don't want to be competitive. You just want to state the facts and just explain and show everything that you tried to do. And you can even just put your phone number, like, we encourage you to give us a call again, to try and figure this out and get everything, get everything, make everything right. So, and Paul said before, the goal is to make the customer look unreasonable, thus lessening the potential impact when the review is read by somebody. All right. So now that we covered feedbacks, let's cover negative reviews. There's going to be a lot of overlap between these two, but wanted to go through this, and we should be able to probably cruise through this pretty quick here. But so now that we've talked about feedback, let's talk about reviews. So what kind of things can cause a review to be removed by Amazon? So Amazon has a bunch of different policy violations when it comes to leaving any kind of reviews, and if a review violates any of these, then you can report it. So just kind of going through the list really quick. If the review is content in exchange for compensation, so that's a new one. That's one that got added with that big policy update about no more incentivized reviews. You cannot review any relatives, close friends, or any close businesses products. So if you work for a company, you cannot review your own company's products. Any kind of content that is about your context, your competitors' products or services. So you cannot say like, oh, this product is better than so, either in your own product, but also in your competitors' product. So you actually cannot review your competitors' products, and you especially can't review competitors' products and say like, ours is better, something to that effect. Next thing is, if you have multiple reviewers from the same household reviewing the same product, that is not allowed. If you post any kind of advertisement or solicitation for something else in a review, that is not allowed. Any kind of review that includes URLs or links to other products sold on Amazon, that is not allowed. Anytime that content is libelous, defamatory, harassing, threatening, or inflammatory, that's not allowed. Any content that invades privacy of other people. Any time that you can't impersonate other people or organizations, and you cannot post from multiple accounts or coordinate with other accounts to leave negative reviews.
One quick thing I wanted to bring up there: the content is libelous, defamatory, harassing, threatening, or inflammatory. That's one where sometimes when you create that metered response that describes the facts, and that person really gets ticked off by your very metered, very measured, very logical response, they may change their review to be some of the things that are in there. That's happened several times with things that we've managed on Google reviews, not yet on Amazon reviews, but people reviewing things sometimes really feel like their voice needs to be heard. And we've had cases on Google where people change their review to be one of those different items, and that gives us cause to have it removed. So sometimes if they go back and change it, that's something that you can then use to your advantage and leverage it to get it out of there. Tim, you have another big bullet point here. Reporting the review is how we do it, right, Tim?
Exactly. So if for any reason it violates any of these policies from Amazon, you can go to that review. So sign into your seller account, go to the review section of your product page, and right next to the review, there's a link that says report abuse. This is a lot less structured than requesting removal of a review, or sorry, of feedback that we went over before. But essentially, this just gives you a dialog box to just say why you think that this review was in violation of Amazon's guidelines. I think they call them their community guidelines. So just explain to there, we believe that this review is defamatory, or it's threatening, or that it looks like it might be a competitor that left this. Then that product review will then pass across the desk of one of Amazon's community guidelines people that will review that and to make a decision as to whether or not that needs to be removed. All right. So let's say that review is not able to be removed for some reason because it doesn't violate any kind of guidelines. The next option is, and this is very beneficial for a product that you are the only one selling. If you're selling the product with many other people, you kind of have less options at your disposal. But if you are able to, might be a good idea to look up the order for that particular customer and see if you can contact them. One thing to know is that the name that is displayed on reviews can be changed from the name that's on the account. They call it a nickname, and you can put whatever you want as your nickname for reviews. So this can sometimes be very difficult to be able to associate a review with a specific customer that purchased your product. But if you are able to find the order for that customer, this is a very powerful tool. The whole idea is that you want to reach out to the customer using the buyer-seller messaging system. And the way you do that is when you look at an order, you open up the order on Seller Central, and next to the customer's name is a little envelope. And you want to click on that, and then it will ask you why you're sending the message, and you can go ahead and approach them. And you really want to come with the whole mindset is that you are concerned that they are dissatisfied with the product and that you want to attempt to troubleshoot or answer any questions that they have about it to make them happy with it. And kind of going back to what we said earlier, it may be a good idea to just issue a refund or a concession right away without any kind of question, just to show good faith and possibly even offer replacements. So kind of going back to the other thing that we said before, if a customer is happy with the outcome, you can absolutely ask them if they could please change the review. Unlike feedback, a customer can change a review at any point in time. There is no time limit. And that's because products can last a long time. I've seen some reviews that say, I just got this product. So far, I'm happy with it. And this is back in 2009. Then 2010, they said a year later, everything's great. 2011, everything's still great. You get the idea. Where customers are often, some customers are very active in that they continually update the review years later. And so, just basically shows that you can ask someone to change the review at any point in time. But just like feedback, you cannot coerce or incentivize a customer to change their review. All right. Then the last section that we want to move on to is talking about what if this doesn't do the trick about responding publicly. Before I move on to that, I wanted to see if anyone had any questions or comments on that.
Not at this time, Tim. Terry, do you have anything?
No, I'm good. Keep it rolling.
I have a question.
Oh, Phil. Yeah, go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, Tim, I'm just wondering if have we in our experience encountered clients who have maybe misunderstood or misestimated the importance of doing this, and then in turn have sort of restructured their staffing to dedicate more staff resources toward responding to negative Amazon reviews?
Yes, we have. And in fact, I think Paul may be able to tell, we obviously are not going to talk about any specific customer, but we certainly have had experience where we have absolutely just taken over customer service, and we have completely turned around their public profile and image, and it made such a huge impact. Paul, do you want to kind of elaborate that on a little bit?
Yes, it's one of our most recent success stories. They went from, we start with them, they were doing $94,000 a month. They jumped up to $140,000 240, and they were on track to hit 310,000 this month, but they ran out of product and had to fly out to China to acquire more factories to get more product made, because we were just doing so well. But we brought their customer service down to average. I think we're averaging a 23-minute response time. Before they engaged with us, they were over 24 hours in many instances. We also have gotten many customers that we've worked with on their account to say that they're now lifelong customers, and they will proactively tell other people about their particular type of product. It's a product that needs to be regularly used. So that's a phenomenal achievement to make there. We've also used a lot of the different tactics that we talked about, just telling them to keep the product, we'll send them a new one, give them a refund. Some of them were potentially counterfeit by other people posing as having the same product. So we've gotten a lot of those returned, identified issues with the listings, corrected those issues. So really working that system of customer service, getting rid of the negative feedbacks, asking for positive feedbacks and reviews, and it's really made a drastic turnaround and not only in their customer service metrics and their performance metrics according to Amazon, but also in the dollars and cents on the bottom line, which is just absolutely phenomenal. Back to you, Tim.
Great, thank you, Paul. And I just want to say we did get another question from Jerry here. Jerry asked the question, when you offer a refund, should you place the link to the Amazon Refund Center? That is certainly one way to do it, but you can actually issue a refund at any point in time through Seller Central yourself. You do not have to have a customer go through Amazon to do it. And the way that you do that is by pulling up the order itself and selecting on the right-hand side, there's a button that says issue refund, which will take you to the section where you can either issue a full refund or you can issue a partial refund. Select the reason, and there's a box that even allows you to do an additional compensation, so additional monies back to be able to cover any kind of return shipping if for some reason you wanted the product back, or to cover just a general concession, and also put a note in there. The notes are very short, but yes, you can do all of that right through Seller Central just by clicking on the order and clicking on refund customer, I think is what it says. So
that reminds me of a quick story. I recall that we did a refund, and the person was very dissatisfied because they had to go out and buy something at the grocery store to hold them over with their situation until they got this product in, so this way they could go back to their normal daily activities, their habits. And so we actually issued them an additional 10 or 20 bucks just to cover that purchase that they made at the grocery store to hold them over. So that made him extremely happy. Just did not even expect that. We had a left field, and got a 5-star review for that. Back to you, Tim.
Great. And then the last thing I want to go over here is just, okay, if all else fails, what about, what's our last option? And this is pretty much exactly the same as doing the public response for feedback. Is you just want to respond publicly to it. Pretty much the same exact thing here, just reduces the human impact of any kind of negative feedback, or any kind of negative review, turns a negative experience to a positive one, and it really allows you to share your side of the story to show that you've done everything that you can to make this a positive experience, make the customer just look unreasonable, and lessen the impact of any potential customers who read that review. So I think that just about concludes everything that I have. Without any further ado, I want to turn this back over to Terry, because I think he's going to close us out for today.
Yes, I am, Tim. Thank you. So just to recap for real quickly, want to look at the website again and remind everybody that on our website, right up top is a webinar tab. And if you go to that, you can watch any of our previous webinars at your leisure. We encourage you to do that. Love to have you tell your friends to come to our webinars that are every Thursday at 12:30 Central Time. And we'd love to have you here. Bring your questions, bring your concerns. We always appreciate it. Want to shout out to Michael and Jerry, a couple of our clients who joined us today, and we appreciate them and their time. We want you to sign up for our awesome list if you haven't already, so you can be kept up on everything that's going on here at Awesome Dynamic. Go ahead and do that. And then since we're talking about reviews, even more importantly, we do have a place down there at the bottom where you can give us a 5-star Google review. We appreciate it very much. It's important to us and our business that you do so. So we're always looking for help on that if you can. So please take a look at that for us. We'd love to get that review. As I said, very important to us as a company to have your feedback on that. So with all that being said, I want to say goodbye and thanks to everybody who joined us. Please join us again next week. And again, bring your friends and your questions. So everybody want to just say goodbye?
Bye,
Goodbye.
everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Adios.